One softly knocked on the door. From inside, a deep, commanding voice rolled out. "Come in." Taking a small breath, Wan pushed the door open and stepped inside. Jeon Jungkook, the CEO of Jeon Enterprise, the man every employee feared. The man whose one glare could freeze a room, sat across from her, pen in hand, sharp eyes lifting to her silent form. His gaze locked on her. "Did you complete the file I gave you?" His voice cold, deep, and emotionless. One's throat tightened. She swallowed the lump forming there and lowered her gaze. "It's almost done, sir. Just a few more minutes," she whispered, her voice shuddering slightly. Jacob raised a brow, his expression darkening even more. "So that means you didn't finish it yet?" "No, sir," she admitted softly, eyes glued to the floor. Jacob exhaled sharply, his jaw fixed. "I'll give you 15 minutes. Complete it and bring it to me." "Yes, sir," she nodded quickly, but she didn't move. She was still standing there, clutching the file nervously. After a few seconds later, he glanced at her. "My schedule?" One straightened immediately and began everything. After finishing the list, she added carefully, "And I have already mailed the Mr. Lee regarding that Lee confirmation." Jungkook just nodded. Just then, the office door suddenly opened. The sound startled Wine. She turned quickly. Jungkook's eyes snapped forward. A woman walking, polished, elegant, heels clicking confidently against the floor as if she owned the building. One frowned immediately. No one, absolutely no one, entered Jungkook's office without knocking. But this woman, she walked in, rule never applied to her. Jungkook's jaw clenched. "If you come someone's office, you should knock first," he said, his voice icy. "That's a basic manners." But the woman, Mina, only smiled sweetly. "Why should I knock on my soon-to-be fiance's office?" she replied as she came closer, her voice sugary, her eyes on Jungkook. One froze. Soon-to-be fiance. Of course, no wonder she entered like that. One immediately stepped back and lowered her head. "Sir, I'll take my leave now," she whispered. Jungkook's eyes flickered towards her, sharp, unreadable. Then he gave a small nod. Without meeting anyone's eyes, One turned and walked out of the office, quickly closing the door behind her. As soon as one closed the door behind her, Jungkook's eyes shifted back towards Mina. His voice dropped coldly. "Why did you come here?" There was no warmth, no welcome, just a calm, cutting tone that made his displeasure obvious. Mina, however, only smiled sweetly, as if she didn't hear the force in his voice. "Your father asked me to come meet you," she said lightly. "He thinks we should spend more time together to get to know each other." Jungkook's jaw tightened so hard. He already told his father 1,000 times he didn't want to marry. Not her, not anyone chosen by force. But his father never listened. He kept pushing him into things he didn't want, and now this. Jungkook exhaled sharply. "I already told you I'm not interested in this marriage," he said without looking at her. For a second Mina's fake sweetness cracked. Annoyance flickered across her face, but she quickly forced the smile back on. "Oh, come on," she said, stepping closer. "You should at least try to know me at first. How can you be so sure we wouldn't be a good match?" Django didn't even spare her a full glance. "I'm busy right now." Mina's smile fluttered. She leaned in a bit. "But still, we should spend some time together. Let's go somewhere. Maybe shopping?" she said cheerfully, as if she hadn't heard his tone at all. Jungkook finally lifted his eyes. He already knew what kind of person Mina was. He could read people easily, face, intention, desire, and her intention were written all over her. She wanted money, status, power. She didn't want him. He saw right through her. In a deeper, firmer tone, he said, I have a meeting and I said it nicely already. Leave. Mina's jaw tightened. Okay, I understand. Work fast. She said lightly, pretending she wasn't insulted. With careful, controlled step, she turned and walked out of the office. The moment the door clicked shut, the room went silent again. Jungkook didn't bother watching her leave. He simply looked back at the laptop, expression blank, and resumed typing as if nothing had happened. On the other side, Wine was sitting at her desk, trying to focus on her work, but her eyes kept drifting toward her phone, her fingers fudging nervously. She was waiting for a call that felt like it would never come. Finally, after what felt like eternity, her phone buzzed. Wine scratched up, her voice trembling. Yes, doctor, is everything fine? On the other end, the doctor's voice heavy, serious. Wine, I got your mother's report, but it's a bad news. Her heart slammed against her chest, and her eyes instantly welled up. A thousand frightening possibilities raced through her mind. What it is, doctor? She asked, her voice shaking almost uncontrollably. We need to perform as soon as possible, the doctor said. One felt if the ground had been pulled from under her. She whispered, her voice breaking. The doctor said, yes, it would be better if we do it as soon as possible. I hope you understand that. One's lips quivered as she tried to steady herself. Okay, doctor, I'll manage something, she said slowly, through her mind. The doctor gave a small, sympathetic nod and hung up. Silence filled the room, but one's mind was anything but quiet. How could she manage it? The cost would be. She had some savings, but she knew it wouldn't be enough. Her eyes welled up instantly. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Her mother was the only family she had left. She had no one else to turn to, no one she could ask for help or a loan. Then a single thought crept to her mind. Mr. Jeon. Her eyes widened at the thought, heart hampering. Will he even believe me? Will he help me? She whispered to help herself, voice shaking. I don't have any other option left. I should at least try to ask him. Maybe he will help me. Another shaky breath escaped her lips. Maybe he would help me. Biting her lower lip, she returned to the desk, her hands still shaking. She tried to focus on the file Jungkook had given her, finishing it with trembling fingers, her heart heavy with fear, hope, and desperation. With a thundering heart, Wan knocked softly on the door of Jungkook's office, clutching the file he had requested. Come in, his voice deep and commanding. Wan stepped inside and stood before him, his hands trembling slightly as he held out the file. Sir, the file you wanted, she said, her voice quivering. Jungkook looked up, his face cold and unreadable, as ever. Keep it here, I'll check it later, he said in a deep, even tone. Wan placed the file on the desk, but didn't move. She stood there, unsure, her heart racing. After a few tense seconds, Jungkook's eyes met hers. Do you want to say something? He asked. Wan nodded slowly. Actually, I wanted to say something else, she mumbled. Something personal. Jungkook leaned forward slightly, resting his forearms on the desk. What is it? He said, his tone calm but sharp. Wan looked down, her chest tightened. Her mind was swell of fear and uncertainty. She didn't know if she had the courage to speak, but she had no other choice. Swallowing hard, she finally whispered, Actually, I need some money. Django raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable, yet he remained silent, letting her continue. Her eyes filled with desperation as she finally looked up at him. It's really an emergency, sir. Please. She pleaded, her voice barely more than a whisper. Django's voice remained casual, almost detached. Why do you need the money? Wan take a shaky breath and explain, her words stumbling out in a rush. My mother, she is a heart patient. The doctor just called me. He said, I already have some savings, but it's not enough. I really, really need help. Please. Her lips trembled as she added, I promise I'll pay you back as soon as possible. Django remained silent, studying her face intently. His dark eyes seemed to be thinking something far beyond her words. After a long, heavy pause, he finally spoke. Okay, I'll help you. I'll give you the money, however much you need. Vine's eyes sparkled immediately. A bright, relieved smile broke across her face. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I promise I'll pay you back as soon as possible. Chiko's next word, however, cut through her relief like ice. I don't need you to pay me back for that. I want something else from you. Once brow frowned in confusion and fear. Huh? What, sir? She stammered. Django stood slowly from his chair, his step measured, calculated. One's heart pounded in her chest. He stopped in front of her, his hand casually resting in his pocket. His voice was calm, yet there was an undeniable intensity in it. Marry me. One's eyes widened, her entire body freezing, her heart dropped, and the world seemed to be tilted around her. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. What? She whispered, her voice barely audible, trembling with shock. How? How can I? I can't. Her voice stumbled out, disbelief written all over her face. Jaco's deep voice cut through her panic. Don't worry, it's a contract marriage. You will become my wife. But only until I find someone I truly love. One blinked, unable to process his word. What? But you already have a fiancée, then why? He let out a slow, controlled sigh. I don't want to marry her. It's my father's choice. He wants me settled down. But I know exactly how she is. She is just with me for my money and status, nothing else. He leaned closer, his piercing gaze locking onto hers. His voice dropped, deep and cold. And I'm already fed up with these blind dates. That's why I'm telling you, marry me. As a contract, once I find someone I genuinely love, someone who doesn't care about my money, someone I can truly like, we'll divorce. One shallow hurt, fear and disbelief swelling inside her. I I still can't. How can you even say this? Jungkook shrugged slightly, his expression indifferent. I didn't do anything. You come to me for help. I'm just finding my benefits in this. One's jaw clenched, struggling to contain her emotions. He sighed again, softer this time, and leaned back slightly. I know you need money for your mother's treatment. I promise you, if you agree to my terms, I'll give your mother the best treatment possible. That's my promise. Looking away, his tone shifted slightly, almost casual. It's all your choice, whatever you decide, yes or no. If you agree now, I'll have the contract papers ready as soon as possible. Wan's heart raced uncontrollably. She didn't know what to do. She needed the money desperately, but she had no one else to ask. But this marriage, and to him, the thought made her shiver. Her mind screamed. How could she marry him? Jungkook's voice broke through her thoughts. So tell me, what do you want to do? One looked down, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to steady her racing heart. She needed to think. After a few long seconds, she exhaled softly, her resolve beginning to harden. She muttered under herself, barely adorable. Don't worry, it's just a contract marriage. I just have to find someone for him, so it ends soon. It's not a big deal. Lifting her gaze, she looked directly at him, her voice quiet but determined. Fine, I'm ready. Chung's lips stuck into a faint smile. Okay then, I'll prepare the contract papers soon. He settled into his chair, looking down at his paper, his voice flat but commanding. You may leave now. One didn't hesitate, her heart still racing. She hurriedly left the room. Her mind was chock full of fear, relief, and determination. The wedding had happened in the blink of an eye. Now Wan and Jungkook were entered in his mansion. Jungkook led the way, his steps confident and steady. Behind him Wan followed hesitantly, like a lost puppy, her eyes flickering nervously around the grand hallway. Suddenly Jungkook stopped. Wan froze immediately behind him. He turned his piercing gaze towards her. Our room is upstairs, he said, his voice deep and calm. Wan's eyes widened in shock. Our room? Shouldn't we stay in separate bedrooms? He asked almost immediately. Jungkook's expression remained unreadable as he replied casually, still in that commanding deep voice. No, we are not. I can't take any risk. He paused, raising an eyebrow. What if my father comes suddenly and sees that we are living separately? One muttered quickly, trying to reason. He is sensible. He won't do that. Jungkook shrugged, a small smirk tugged at his lips. Who knows? Sometimes he goes crazy, like me. One looked up, muttering under her breath. That's true. Jungkook's sharp gaze snapped towards her. What did you say? She immediately shook her head. Nothing, she stammered, though she was still standing there frozen. Her voice quivered as she finally spoke again. Actually, I want to ask you something. Before she could continue, Jungkook interrupted, his tone calm and firm. Don't worry, I already called the doctors. Your mother's treatment has started. Everything is taken care of. Don't worry about her. Hearing his words, one felt a wave of relief wash over her. Slowly, she forced a smile. Thank you, she said quietly. Jungkook simply nodded once and turned, heading upstairs. One remained standing in the hallway for a moment, her mind racing. Thoughts of her mother, the contract, and the unexpected marriage swirled in her head. Finally, she muttered under her breath, Please, God, let him find someone for himself as soon as possible. They were both now inside the bedroom. Wine had already freshened up, and Jungkook was stepping out of the washroom. She stood in front of the bed, frozen, unsure of what to do or where she was supposed to sleep. Jungkook's sharp gaze fell on her. He approached the bed, raising an eyebrow. What's wrong? Why are you standing there like that? One's voice trembled as she looked at him. Where will we sleep? Jungkook frowned, titled his head slightly. I guess on the bed, he said simply. Her eyes flickered towards the couch, as if searching for a way out. Jungkook immediately caught on her thoughts. I was thinking, she stuttered, hesitating. But Jungkook's voice cut through her. Don't you dare to even look at that couch. One's eyes widened and she stared at him, stunned. I'm not going to sleep on that couch, he continued firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. Her heart hammered in her chest. How can I sleep with him? How can I deal with my messy sleeping habits? Jungkook's deep voice broke her thoughts. Let's go. He started toward the bed, his expression calm. One's mind raced. It's not my fault. With a shaky breath, her heart pounding, she followed him and lay down on the bed. It was the middle of the night. Both of them were sleeping peacefully, the soft rhythm of their breath filling the quiet room. Suddenly Jungkook feels something heavy against his chest and waist. His eyes slowly flutter open and he realizes it was Wine. She was clutching him tightly. Her small hands wrapped around his waist, her head resting gently on his bicep. She looked like a koala clinging to a tree, completely unaware of herself. Jungkook's chest tightened unexpectedly. Her tiny soft figure pressed against him, lips slightly pouting against his bicep, and her peaceful, innocent expression made her look like a fragile little creature in front of him. He didn't know how long he just stared at her. His own heartbeat quickened at the sight, a strange warmth spreading through his chest. Shaking his head slightly, Jungkook looked away. That's why she insists I'll take the couch. A small, almost unpredictable smile tugged at his lips as he shook his head at himself. Then, despite his hesitation, he glanced back at her, sleeping so peacefully, clutching him as if he were her only anchor. With a soft sigh, he closed his eyes again, careful not to disturb her. Neither of them knew exactly when sleep returned fully to him, but eventually he too drifted off, holding her gently in his arms, the quiet warmth between them lulling them both into deeper rest.